What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my college basketball top 25 for week 5 after a crazy week of basketball. See who I have in my top 25. But before we get into it, hit that subscribe button down below. Dropping from my rankings, I have Mississippi State, Alabama, and Colorado with some tough losses last week. These teams are falling out of my top 25. And then in my others receiving votes, UCLA, Northwestern with a big upset over Purdue last week. Ohio State, San Diego State, and even Alabama staying here as all these teams are just right there, but oh so close to that top 25. Now, 25 through 21, you have four new teams entering the ranking, and it's pretty good. Wisconsin, Virginia, Clemson, Oklahoma. Wisconsin and Virginia, expected to be around here almost all year, as Wisconsin's put together a very solid year. Virginia upsetting Texas A&M and obviously 7-1 here. Took care of Syracuse at home to start ACC play, so they're jumping in the rankings. Syracuse, two great road wins. I know that Pittsburgh isn't supposed to be a powerhouse this year in the ACC, but the first game in ACC play on the road is always a tough one, and they took care of business there and also upsetted Alabama on the road, which is a very good win for them down the stretch. Oklahoma didn't really do too much, but they're an undefeated team, and they have a few tougher games this week against Providence and Arkansas. And if they can win both those two, I expect that Sooner team to jump up even more. Then Illinois, just like Clemson, went on the road for their first Big Ten victory and got a win. And this week, we're going to really see what Illinois is made of. They get FAU and Tennessee, 12 and 13 teams ranked in the country. If they win both of those, you might be looking at a top 10 team here. Now, 20 through 16, you have Duke suffered two losses last week, both on the road to Arkansas and Georgia Tech. Close games at the end, but just couldn't find a way to finish. And then they get Charlotte this week in a very good rebound game. Should beat the brakes off of them and get to 6-3 to get back on track. Texas A&M, their only loss last week was to Virginia, and they look to get back on track as well. And then you have three teams that just keep on winning. James Madison, BYU, and Colorado State. All three of these teams still undefeated and putting together a very good start to the season. Now, 15 through 11, not much is changing here. Just a few swaps as Tennessee falls out of the top 10. FAU climbing almost into the top 10. And the big story here, though, that Kentucky-Miami game, Kentucky throttled them and then lost at home to UNC Wilmington in a very ugly loss. And Kentucky possibly could have been a top 10 team with that win over Miami, but they're going to stay put with that loss. And then same with Tennessee. They lost last week to UNC on the road, and it was a good game, but came up just short as they couldn't score 101 points in, yeah, one in a regular game. No overtime, nothing. It was a high scoring game. Tennessee looked great in this one. They're just struggling here. They're 4-3, but all three of those losses are teams that are ranked above them right now. Now, 10 through 6 is where it's kind of the coin flip for me, especially the 10 through 6 part. North Carolina deserves it because of that win over Tennessee as they're 7-1, and they get UConn on the road this week, which should be a great game. Gonzaga, they'll find themselves around the top 10 all year. We know how that goes in their weak conference. Creighton, now this is a team that went on the road to get two good road wins against some good, not Power Five. I mean, they are Power Five schools, but some conferences that normally produce some good teams in the tournament. These teams might be around that bubble this year, but those are some good road wins in the out of conference schedule. Marquette, a win and a loss, but I'm going to keep them here because Wisconsin, they're a good team, and Marquette has some very good wins this year. And they get Texas on the road, or Texas at home this week, in which could be a prove-it game for them as they just keep getting battle tested. Baylor, another team that I'm really liking so far, destroying both Nicholas State, Northwestern State at home. Now they get Seton Hall at home, and I expect them to go to 9-0 to start the year, and a team that's still not getting talked about enough. Now, 5 through 1, there's no teams entering or changing, just spots moving around. UConn stays put at 5 with their loss at Kansas, and they get UNC at home. Could move up a little bit there. Purdue falls out of 2 after a very tough loss in OT to Northwestern on the road. 2 years in a row now, they've got upset to Northwestern as they look to bounce back against a decent Iowa team, and which they actually did because I made this video after they blew them out. And then Alabama on the road, which should be a great game there. Kansas, on the other hand, should take care of business, move to 9-1, two easier opponents. Houston finds ways to keep on winning, a team that I'm very high on. I think Houston and Baylor, those two teams need to be talked about more, as Houston should move to 10-0. Then Arizona, their only game this week is Wisconsin at home. And it's going to be a tough game for them, but as we've seen so far with Arizona, they are the number one team currently right now in my rankings, and they're going to show you why. But that's going to be it for this week's rankings. Come back next week where it'll be a different layout. I'll be talking more in depth about each team that's in my top 25. But until next time, the Bench Buddies are out.